I'm always trying to give people tips so that they can have successful mediations. Mediation in divorce, mediation in anything is tough stuff. People choose mediation so that they can control their settlement, but in so doing, you have entered a world of communication that more than likely you're not used to. And it's the communication piece that will make or break a mediation. Now, how do you communicate well? How do you get to the point of being able to communicate well? So, in the world of divorce mediation, which I actually consider to be the most difficult mediation of all, because it's the unraveling of an emotional relationship and it has a lot of decisions about money involved and also about children. So these make the mediations so extremely hard to navigate. But there are ways that you can make them better if you do some work ahead of time. First of all, you do the one thing that I say ad infinitum. Whoever calls me, whether it's mediation, filing, or just getting information, I ask, have you received legal advice yet? Getting legal advice is the absolute most important thing you could possibly ever do. And why is that? You need to understand the law. You need to understand if push came to shove, if for some odd reason you had to go to a judge because you couldn't communicate well enough to get this done outside of a trial or a hearing, you need to know how the judge is going to decide. There will not be emotional decisions. The judge has to follow the law. So it's so important that you understand the law just so you understand that when you ask for things in mediation, you want to know why your spouse, who hopefully has also gotten legal advice, is reacting. If you ask for something that is so far out of bounds that no judge would even come close to giving you that, perhaps you just better back up a little bit. But you also need to learn the law for something like this. One of the things that makes people absolutely crazy when they're approaching divorce, when they're approaching mediation, when they're approaching the discussion for settlement is if your spouse has committed adultery consistently, if your spouse has a gambling issue, if your spouse has a substance abuse issue, you need to talk to an attorney how that affects the settlement. So, one of the issues that comes up a lot is we are in debt. One or both of us have spent money beyond what we make. So, there might be a lot of credit card debt, or one spouse has committed adultery, may have a gambling habit, a substance abuse habit, an alcohol habit. That spouse may conceivably be spending community property dollars on those habits. So the monies that we make, at least in community property states, the monies that we make on our jobs from date of marriage to date of separation, we have created community assets or community debt. Now, the question you have to ask an attorney, which will mitigate the arguments that you have once you get to mediation, is if my spouse has spent money that he or she has earned between date of marriage and date of separation, and there's a lot of debt created, am I obligated for half of that debt? That is a huge question that you have to ask an attorney. I can't really address that like I would like to because I want to keep a neutral position. I'm not an attorney. I'm a paralegal, though, licensed to file. I'm a mediator as well. But I want some things answered by attorneys because that's super important. You want somebody who's strictly looking out for you. And so once you gather the information necessary, the legal information necessary to understand the law in your state and to tell you what your legal rights are, Now we're working on the communication piece. So let's just say you've done exactly what I told you to do. Now you're armed with information, you've taken notes, you've reviewed it. And by the way, not such a bad deal to read on Google what the law is in your state. I think it's a really good idea to, after you've seen the attorney, go on Google, look at how Google, the different lawyers have websites and they talk on Google. It's really good to match the information. If you see something that doesn't comport with what your attorney told you, call back. But this is going to help you communicate. So what happens in mediation in regards to communication? People fight. People fight. They want to prove their point. They want what they want. And they're so angry, hurt, and upset over how their life has changed. Even though they may be the one asking for the divorce, even though they may know that this is just not a good relationship. Maybe it was good at one point and it just didn't work out, or maybe it was never good and you thought it was going to work out and it didn't. There's that anger. First of all, there's anger at yourself for getting yourself in the situation. Self-reflection, anger. Why did I do this? Why didn't I see this coming? Why do I have to deal with such a person? People do that. We all do that. We berate ourselves, or we're just so angry that we've done everything right. We've tried our best. Nothing that we did worked out. And so malfeasance of behavior has brought you to the point of needing to get divorced. Keep it calm. This is my advice. Keep it calm. Do not use mediation as an opportunity to get mad at your spouse, to berate your spouse. Hold it together. Be as nice as you can possibly be while you're saying no if you don't want to do whatever your spouse suggests in the mediation. Keep it positive, keep it calm, be as nice as you can be, smile a little bit, but say what you need to say. If you can keep it positive, if you can keep it calm, if you can listen without interrupting, even though you just want to, please stop talking. I've heard you say this. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of BS. Oh my God, what if the mediator's believing you? All these things run through people's heads. And if you don't even want to listen, you just, come on, let's just get through this. I know what it's going to be. We have to make these decisions. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to change your position. You just have to calm the F down. That's all. You just have to calm down, because if you are calm, you will be in control. You will be in control if you are calm. And I know you want to be in control, but being calm is so incredibly difficult. Do not use mediation as as the therapist sofa. Don't do that. I mean, emotions come out. It is really quite unusual situation to be in, that you're holding it together, you're freaked out, your emotions are at the highest level possible, you haven't slept well, you're worried about your financial future. Everything goes through people's heads. Oh, and you're also worried about, oh my God, what is it going to be like living alone? I've been married for so long, or I've never lived by myself. I went from my parents' home to the marriage, something, anything. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Living alone is so much better than you thought. You get to make your own decisions if that's what your worry is. If your worry is how are you going to make it financially on your own, you're going to make it financially on your own. You're going to be resourceful. You may have to get 2 jobs. You're going to be resourceful. Maybe you have to borrow money from the family. You're going to be resourceful. So don't even worry about this. Could that be somebody calling for a mediation? Anyway, communication, ultimately important. If you can keep it together, If you can stay calm, if you cannot interrupt and listen, or at a certain point, I mean, you know each other better than the mediator knows you. You can raise your hand. I just want you to know that I really would like to add something to what you're saying, although I don't mean to interrupt you, but just because you've already said this, you're repeating yourself. No, you can't say that. But if they're repeating themselves, and that's what people do, people get nervous and they repeat themselves, or people just speak like that. They repeat themselves. This is hard. You know, this is when you're just going to have to politely just say, look, I honestly get the first time you're saying it. I really, really do. I'm listening to you. What you're telling me is important. I'm taking notes. But I'm kind of jumpy and antsy when I listen to you repeat yourself because I really want to talk. I mean, when you talk like that, who can really get angry at you? Easy for me to say, right? I'm done with my divorce. And my divorce was super simple. So communication and legal advice. If you get legal advice, you'll be able to communicate better. Nobody can threaten you. Nobody can tell you you're wrong. No, you're wrong. I would get whatever I wanted if we went to court. No, you're wrong. I know the judge would see it my way. You have no idea how the judge is going to see anything. But the judge isn't about making value decisions about you. The judge is about following the law. You're strangers to the judge. The judge just wants to make the right decisions legally. That's where the judge is at. Am I legally making the right decisions? Not am I personally making the right decisions? Not am I feeling sorry for anybody? No, no, that doesn't happen in court. You may get a judge with a heart that says, you know what, you two are way too emotional. I need to end this hearing. I need you two to go and cool off, grieve a little bit, process your anger, and then refile for a hearing. And I'll be able to work with both of you. I'll be able to ask you questions. You'll be able to answer them better. That's the rare judge, but once in a while, a judge will do that. They'll have a heart. They'll understand that you're not emotionally ready to have the discussion that the judge would like you to have in order to make decisions. Regardless of whether you're going to mediation or you're going to court, you really need to understand the law and you really need to work on your communication skills. If you can do both of those things, you will get through this divorce with flying colors. Thank you for listening. I hope this has helped. Always have an amicable day.